Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Creative Insider podcast number 68 with me, Georgi. On podcast 68, I had the pleasure to talk with Rishabh Wadwha. I hope my pronunciation was good. It's hard with many international names, but Rishabh was amazing in this podcast. And he's also known as Blessed Human, or the man behind the YouTube channel Blessed Arc. Through his channel, I found Mariana Cabugueira, which was on our podcast. He has had many interactions on his channel with Oliver Thomas, which was also on our podcast. He's the big competition design expert at Big New York. And talking with Rishabh was super interesting. So after graduating school, he undertook some internships. But along the way, he understood that the right move for him is to focus on content creation, which was his real passion. So he talked to his father to have a support to quit his job for at least a year and focus on YouTube, on social media, and to see where he can get with this in this deadline that he has set for himself. And after just a year and now a couple of years, his social media channels have tens of thousands of followers, and his YouTube channel has over 2 million views, which is impressive. And it was really interesting to understand his process, his relationship to social media, and how he has grown and what is his gear, what is his mindset. But before we start a conversation with Rishabh, I want to thank you for listening to this podcast. Again, we are over 10,000 downloads now, which is very small compared to Rishabh, but I'm very happy with this milestone that we have reached, and it's all thanks to you. So thank you very much for the support. I want to remind you that you can support us by subscribing on your favorite platform, by sharing with your family and friends, by following our social media channels, which are Instagram at TCI Podcast, and the LinkedIn page, The Creative Insider. I suggest you to stay in touch with us on thecreativeinsider.com, where you can join our newsletter. And once you have joined a newsletter, you'll be able to get a free guide about how to organize your digital filing system. Another great way to support us, which I ask you to do only if you really enjoy our show and if you are getting some super value out of it, is to go on our Patreon. You'll find the link below to support us with $5 a month. And once you have become a Patreon, you will be able to get the names of our guests in advance, and you'll be able to submit a question. And the best question will be some of the best questions will be asked to our guests on the show. So yes, this was it. Thank you very much one more time. Enough with introductions, and enjoy the conversation with Rishabh, the Blessed Human.
The whole world stops just like that.
Hello, Rishabh. How are you?
Hey man, I'm good. Thank you for inviting me on the podcast.
It's such an honor for me to have you on the podcast, because I've told you in our pre-recording conversation when we had all these technical problems that I found your channel on YouTube, Blessed Architect, a couple of months ago. And I was impressed by the impact and the followership that you're achieving. So yeah, my compliments. And for the people who don't know you, you can introduce yourself a little bit.
First of all, thank you so much. And so for the people who don't know me, my name is Rishabh Wadwha. I am a content creator, a YouTuber. So I create content around the field of architecture, around the field of design. So when we go to my YouTube channel, I create things around architecture, documentaries, maybe looking at certain projects, looking at films and their architecture. But I think one of the most famous things is I invite people on my channel and sort of have conversations with them about their career, about their journey, which a lot of people learn a lot of from. So that is something I love doing. And on Instagram, I create like these witty daily facts, and of course with reels now I create reels specific to architecture content. So yeah, that is pretty much what I do in a nutshell.
Yeah, I saw that you have also your personal Instagram where you do more like funny reels or share funny reels. And
yes.
that was for me very interesting when I found your channel, that you have a different way of communicating architecture, so to say. You try to be more funny and sometimes cheesy. So the channel name is like Blessed Architect. So that's really fun. But when I talk to people, I always try to understand who they are and how they got to the point where they are now. So I'm curious, what was the reason in your life for which you decided you're gonna become a professional architect? I have had a couple of guests from India, and it was so funny because I try to break sometimes this general thoughts and general cliches, but it was funny because all of them, they said, yeah, I was supposed to be a doctor, but I didn't become a doctor. So what is your case?
Listen, I think I had decided from 10th standard itself that I wanted to do architecture. I think I was running on parallel boards. It was either architecture or engineering, but I was more geared towards architecture, because also in 11th and 12th is when in India you choose your streams. Like, do you want to take they're basically in earlier I used to be in the Indian board, then I had changed to Cambridge board later. But in the Indian board we had like 3 streams that you could choose from, either science, commerce or arts. So at that point you sort of choose also what you want to do future as a career, what you want to take up, and so you sort of go into that stream. So I had obviously taken up science to keep engineering open as well, but architecture is what I went into. So yeah, that is I did not know about architecture as much back then, and I think my horizons were so much more broadened once I entered college. But from whatever I had learned, from whatever I knew back then, I had chosen architecture.
And where did you study architecture?
So I studied in Manipal University, Jaipur. It was also a funny story because so again, in my 12th standard, like at the end of 11th standard, I had shifted to Cambridge board, and so those were the A levels. And the problem was the admissions in India happen in like July, August, maybe September, like if they're really dragging it. And my results for A levels were gonna come in October. So it was a bit of a struggle there, because I had to see which all colleges I could apply to. Also, I was applying with my predicted grades, not my actual grades. So there was all of that going on. There was actually no way to sort of easily just put in my scores in, because they were designed for the Indian boards and not for international boards. Like all the forms, all the exams, nothing was designed for A levels, or even IB to a little bit everybody knew, but A levels it was not designed for that, because not as many people take up A levels. So it was a bit of a struggle finding the perfect college for me. And Manipal, my dad had actually taken me to Manipal, and it had opened up in Jaipur, which is in my city itself. It's a little further out from my city, and my dad had sort of taken me there. He himself had researched, got everything down for that college, and he took me. And then he showed me around the college. We looked at the faculty, we talked to the teachers who would be teaching us, and yeah, I was still trying to get into a lot more colleges, but ultimately my dad was like, at least they had like a little registration amount, and getting the registration done, my dad was like, let's do this and let's get this ready. Just in case you have nothing to go to, you can come here. But again, with my scores, I was not able to apply to a lot of places, and ultimately it was my dad who had got me into Manipal
And you seem to be, like, through your channel and through now that we're talking, a very, very positive person. I mean, the name says it all, like blessed architect, blessed human. It's are your names in the social media. And sometimes, I mean, at least my personal experience and from what I have heard from my guests, studying anything that's design related, architecture related can be very proving, can be very harsh, because the whole industry and the whole environment is very harsh. How was your experience at university by being such a positive person and going into this environment, which is sometimes very competitive, or the deadlines and the professors are also very challenging? So what was the relationship between what you expected and what you actually found in this world?
So, in terms of the positive aspect, I think I'm more positive now, especially since the past 1 year. The pandemic has taught me a lot, and I've become more positive since. I wasn't as...
something crashed for a second.
Yeah.
So you were saying you've been positive since the pandemic. Hopefully not.
Yeah. So the pandemic
has positive, but just positive.
I was COVID positive as well. Almost everybody, like, especially since the second wave in India hit, it was like almost everybody had COVID. It was spreading so rapidly. Yeah. So, so positivity is something that has come now. In college, there were times where I used to get really, really stressed. I used to get really, really depressed. Waking up in the morning was a task. So, it wasn't as great back then. I think what drove me at that time also was what I was doing is a project that if I really liked something and I really wanted to do it, it sort of drove me. And that is, I think, what drives me still to this day. Like, if I really want to do something, if I'm really excited for a video, to edit it, to make it, my whole week would just be joyous because I'm excited for that video. So I think even in college, it was a lot of times my designs that sort of drove me. And yes, there were times where, the field gets, especially studying, because I only did an internship and I didn't work as an architect after that. But so most of my experience is still from my college experience. But yes, it can get brutal and it can get really, really hectic. Especially in group projects, I used to lose it. And I used to like scream, shout. I don't know why people still had me as a friend after that. But it was my work and it was the love for designs that sort of took me through it. And even when I was doing the internship, I think a lot of interns used to complain about, or maybe have a lot of things. They used to talk about workload and stuff. But I think my internship experience was a little different. Even though we were all in the same office, I sort of loved. Again, it was the work. I used to work on Rhino and Grasshopper. So as soon as I got in, like within a week, I was given a project where they were creating these fluid forms, and they were all sculptural forms inside with wood. So we had to work on Grasshopper for that and Rhino. So I was one of the interns who knew, so I got onto that project. And I think from that point onwards, it was I was doing one interesting stuff after another, and sort of kept driving me. I remember when I was doing my internship is when our office had got a 3D printer, and I was I was that day just sitting, and my boss sort of called me that come learn about the 3D printer while the person who installed it was explaining it to us. By the end of my internship, I was the one who handled everything about the 3D printer. I was explaining everything before I went to the rest of the interns and the person who was sort of my superior. I was explaining it to them how everything works, so that when I leave, people know how to use it. But
How did you
yeah,
get
so
this
it was,
internship, and where did you do your first internship?
So my very first internship happened at DQ Design Lab. I think Design Cube. That is what it was called. So it was opened by one of my professors in college. So my very first internship was a summer internship with him, and in that very first internship, he'd given me like an interior project to design, which on hindsight was not very great how I designed it. It is an actual build project, and the problem with that project was they wanted a bar, so I designed it as a bar and I gave the lighting of a bar. They never got a liquor license, so it was just a shady cafe. so yeah, that was my very first experience, and I got it through my professor. The main internship that is required within the course, the 6-month long internship, I'd done at Studio Ardet, which is in Chandigarh, India. And even I think getting to that internship, I was applying everywhere and not getting calls, and just I also in hindsight realized my portfolio was, the way I designed it was not that great. Now that I do portfolio reviews with people, I realize, how much I could have done in my portfolio and sort of taken it to a newer level. But that time the portfolio was not that great. But again, I had sent it to Studio Ardet, and they saw all of my experience and all of that I could do. And then they had called me that very day. I think it was my final jury. So like in 20 days, we need to go for the internship. I don't have an office to go to. So I'd given my final jury for my thesis, and I'm sitting and I'm sending portfolios, and then I get a call back like, we would like to have you. And that is how I went. Within 20 days, I got everything ready and then went off to Chandigarh.
But did you need to do this? Did you do this internship right after you completed your master, or was it bachelor and then you were starting master? That was after you finished your studies.
So in India, the bachelor course itself is 5 years long. So what we also do, so there is somewhere within the course you have to do a compulsory internship for. It's not 6 months, it's basically 4.5 months, how long a semester is. So our school, especially at our time, had designed it in a way that our last semester was our internship. So we had finished off with our thesis, we'd done everything else, and then the last semester is when we had to go off for our final internship.
And so you found this internship, and then you spend there 6 months, and you say that you get fired up when you get something exciting. When was did you have a transition from school to a full-time job as a regular employee, where you just were not an intern but you were working as an architect?
No. So they had offered me the job where I was doing my internship, like before I was leaving. So also I had told them, I had this channel and I make videos, and so I think back then also I wanted to do like this interview series with architects. So my boss, architect Badrinath, was actually one of the first guests who had come on the channel, and I asked him. He said yes, and while doing my internship, like on a Sunday, he came to the office. He gave me like 1.5 hours where we sat, and I sort of interviewed him. I had all of these questions prepared, and so yeah. So I was also, this was close to the end of my internship, I was also offered a job, and he told me like, if you want to come back, or if you want to stay after your internship is over. At that time, I wanted to go back to Jaipur, to my city, and I think it was, so one of my bosses, so it is both Badrinath Kaleru and Prerna Kaleru. So they're both bosses at Studio Ardet. So Prerna ma'am is the one who sort of, it is at our farewell where she said, Rishabh, you have a lot of energy, and you have a lot of, I think energy was the word she used, but she said, but the problem is it is diverged into a lot of places. If you just focus all of that to one place, you can really go forward in that place. And I think she was talking about architecture. like take all of your energy and put into architecture. But I was like, you know what, you're right. If I want to, so I already had my channel back then. So I was like, you know, if I actually want to try and do something, create content, be in the media industry, I need to sort of put all my energy.
How long time ago?
So it sort of come back.
How long time ago this conversation happened?
This conversation happened in 2018.
2-3 years ago, almost now.
Yes. So I'd come back home and I'd also talked to my dad and I told him, listen, Dad. So in India, so it's like pretty normal. People live with their parents. So I'd come back home and so I talked to my dad and I said, Dad, you know, let me have a year where let me just try and see where this goes, where I can go as a content creator. Because Lily Singh had done this. I don't know if you know Lily Singh. She started off as a YouTuber. She's like she has her own show on NBC now.
What?
But, So Lily Singh is a Canadian YouTuber. She started really long back, and she used to be my absolute favorite since school. And now she has an own show, like late night show on NBC. She's amazing. Like if you've not watched it, full comedy. So I think that she had also done this. She talked to her father and she was like, you know, give me a year and let me see if I can make something out of this. And so this is something similar what I did with my dad. I said, Dad, give me a year. Let me see if something comes out of it. And yeah, so that whole year I wasn't working as an architect. I was just working as a content creator to see if I can take it.
And but was the motivation to start your channel the fact that you were a fan of these other YouTubers, or what was for you the driving motivation? Because, for example, what we do, whether it's a podcast or whether it's a video, it's sort of an exhibition. Now you do a show. It's like you show yourself, you expose yourself. And I've never thought about me being a sort of a performer, because in sort of you're some sort of performer. Although I try to keep it as like I would talk to you like this if we were just not recording. I would do the same conversation. And I discovered podcasts through Joe Rogan because I was I discovered Elon Musk, and I found this podcast. I was like, who is this guy that can have Elon Musk for 3 hours on his shows and talk shit and smoke joints? And then I found other podcasts, and I thought, and as you, like, the pandemic kicked in, I was like, okay, maybe now is the time to, you know, one of my favorite podcasts didn't kept being produced, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to do something similar like that podcast, just with people from everywhere, and to see how it goes. And this is how it happened. And I told to myself, like, I'm gonna do 5 hours of podcast, which were the free uploading time from this sharing platform, and if I don't like it, I'm not gonna do it anymore. And then I liked it, and since then I've been doing one podcast a week. And this is how I wanted to be the person talking, asking the questions, because when I get obsessed with different figures, like in the architecture was Björke Ingels, then Elon Musk in the tech industry, and when I get obsessed, I try to find content, and then I figure out in this content the missing questions, and I'm like, why nobody asked this question? So I decided to do this, and this was my driving motivation to ask the question that I was really curious about. What was your motivation? What was the driving motivation to start your own channel?
So, of course, it was YouTubers at the start. I think Lily Singh was a huge impact. At that time, I think her channel was called, I think she's changed it now, it was Superwoman. Is what she started with, and now I think she changed it to Lily Singh in general. There was I used to watch a lot of them. I've not watched them for so long, I keep forgetting their names. There were Tyler Oakley. There were these two British roommates who used to just keep doing pranks on each other. So I think YouTubing in general, I used to watch a lot of people, and the fact, you were talking about performer, that aspect of it. I think ever since I was in school, so I used to participate in a lot of theatre in my school. We used to have these huge productions. We had like a whole Wicked production in our school as well. So, I used to always be a part of that, try to be a part of that, and just have fun during the whole theatrics of it. So I think I have always been that person since school. So and then I think in 2014 is when I started my YouTube channel, and when it started, it wasn't about architecture. It was called Blessed Dark because it was sort of an amalgamation of things that I wanted to put together, but it was nothing to do with architecture. It was just me having fun. There were me doing their videos. There was me similar things of what I had seen on the YouTube platform that I like. I think there were similar things, similar to I think what you would find on That Blessed Human today. It's just pure nonsensical fun, and just create content that just people would like to watch, regardless of whether it is adding any value to your time or not. Just content that people like to watch. And I think that is what I started Blessed Dark with.
And how did you, now you have quite a big followership, but I'm curious because when I saw the first video I found on your channel, it was with Mariana, and then I was like, okay, it's like a different way of doing YouTube as I would imagine it to do it in this field. But I was, I saw the numbers and was okay, this guy knows how to do it because he has got some traction. And how was your way of storytelling, so to say, the way you expose these topics accepted from I don't know, the architectural community that surrounds you, or what is the feedback you get? Because it's, as I said, it's you have amazing guests from super huge companies, but then you keep it so very I think funny. I say cheesy, not in a bad way, it's like your style, always smiling, and then that's so cool and that's not so cool, and also the color grading and stuff, it's more fun. It's not more so serious like you would see these other I would say sometimes douchey channels. So how was this received from your community, from your surroundings and designers that have saw your videos?
I think in general a lot of people like the funnier side of me. So some people do keep telling me, maybe I take it too fun at times, and a lot of people keep telling me, you have such access to amazing guests. You could be a little more serious, and you could be a little more, I don't know the exact words they use, but basically it's like you could be a little more serious. And that is my problem. I think, the profession in general, architecture in general, people take themselves too seriously. The profession, it is an important profession. It is a profession that can change a lot of people's lives. You have the ability as an architect to create a lot of beautiful things, but taking yourself too seriously will not bear any fruit. I think in general, whatever you're doing, if you're taking yourself as a person and your career too seriously, you sometimes tend to get lost in it. And I think that is what the whole point here is to not take architecture seriously, to have fun while doing the conversations, irrespective of whether I am interviewing an intern from some firm or I'm interviewing Bjarke Ingels. If that happens one day. When that happens one day, I'm manifesting it. But, it's
gonna be first on our show.
It'll always be fun. Perfect. As soon as he comes there, I am contacting you to get me in touch with him. But, so yeah, it is all about having fun. It is all about having a genuine conversation with people. And that is why I keep telling people who keep asking me for, advice as well, is, when people sort of, there's a formal way of doing even these video podcasts, right? That colleges do nowadays, is where they will invite the guests and then for 10 minutes they'll keep talking about the guests and keep naming their achievements and so, and I invite you to the and it keeps going, and the conversation is really boring. I'm like, listen, who is here? And that is why I look at videos, great conversations, there's great insights, but only if you sit through the whole thing. There are like 500 views on the damn thing, because you've not edited it or created it in an exciting way. One huge aspect of being a YouTuber, of being a content creator, is the fact that you need to create content. You need to grab people's attention. How people react, are on the app, what kind of content people watch. You need to understand all of that. It's not just about having great ideas, it's about great execution of those ideas as well. And that has also morphed since my channel started. So I think the fun aspect, the cheesy aspect, the jokes are a huge part of they're a huge part of me. So obviously they'll be a huge part of the platform, regardless of whether people like them or not. I think I can't just be drop dead serious and do things. It just won't come out that way, or won't come out as effortlessly from me. And that's why if you go to Blessdag on Instagram, it's mostly just fun. Like every video I like purposefully, I have the whole script ready. I don't record it because I'm like, this joke can be better. Because in every video of that, I like to put like a proper joke in. And I think this is a huge inspiration for this is Trevor Noah, John Oliver, Hassan Minhaj. So, they put out informative content out there, but with jokes. You laugh along the way and learn things. So that is sort of what I want to do as well. I obviously don't do it at that level. But I try to put in at least some jokes in there. At least in this whole profession of everybody just being drop dead serious, here is a little bit of laughter.
No, I think I agree with you, and I wouldn't agree with the people who tell you to be more serious, because you clearly use a genuine side of your character in your videos and in your interviews. So I think it's important to have different people. Like, if somebody goes and listens to the interview you did with Mariana, there are different aspects that come out if I do the interview with her, because I think we're also a little bit like a mirror, depending on who you're talking with, you kind of adapt yourself slightly.
True.
And I noticed that because I've done also now, I do only interviews I don't do this side content that you also do. I might start, but that it involves a lot of work, and I have still a full-time job. But it's like I think you can get a different groove with the person that you start talking with, and it's really different because everybody's different, and I don't know the people like personally. I don't know how much I can explore during the conversation, how far I can go with the jokes, or what kind of jokes they will accept. Because I have a more different. I am rather for this dark, outrageous humor. The stuff that you're not supposed to say, but you would say just because it's fun. And I'm based in Germany, and this sometimes wasn't very good here because I would do the wrong kind of jokes, and people would look at me very badly. And I think that you said something very nice. You said you shouldn't be taking yourself too seriously, because also you will miss all the fun. And I think that you might, hearing who your inspiration figures are, you shouldn't be like also underestimating yourself, because if you think Trevor Noah also was from South Africa, starting in a very disadvantaged situation, so to say, in the apartheid South Africa, and now he has a daily show. So you never know how far you can get. But to go back to your story. So you came back to your city. You asked your dad for a year to to figure. That's I've read somewhere that this is very common nowadays, that millennials and younger generations take a year after their studies to figure out if they can do something in the content creation or influencers and things like that. And what was your plan in that year? Like, you were, okay, I have to focus on this. How did you? Because also content creation is not like you do this and you get like, it's not really linear, I think.
Yeah. So I will be honest, my original plan was, within that year's time, just to become a big time YouTuber. Which also didn't happen. Like, it takes a lot more than just a small amount of time, and obviously I was putting all my effort in. But I think close to 6 months in, I had realized. So within that year also, there were a few things that were, I was doing more interviews, just as I said. So, Badri sir was my very first interview on the channel. So I'd done that from Chandigarh and come back, and I was interviewing more people from Jaipur. There was also this one person who really loved the interviews that I was doing, and he flew me to another city. And I did an interview with him, and my parents were like, what? Why is he flying you to another city? Because I was like, because I create good content, guys. So that was happening. I was also selected. So Venice Biennale was happening that very year, 2018. So the Pavilion of Turkey in that year did something special. What they did was, they had an open call for all students all over the world, and to sort of come and make the exhibitions. So they sort of selected people from all over the world. I think they selected like 100 participants, and that they would come in like batches every week, and every week just make a part of their exhibition. So selected for that. So that was coming up as well. So I had a few things along the way which were sort of interesting in that year. But I think 6 months in, I realized, YouTube will take a lot of time, and earning money from YouTube will take a lot of time, because at the end of the day, whatever profession you choose, you also need to earn from it a little bit. Not a little bit.
You have to earn that properly. You can support yourself. I always say that.
Exactly. So, which was not happening through YouTube or any of my other platforms. So I had also started looking for a job. So I had applied to loads of companies, not architecture based, but general companies who create content. So Men's XP Idea were two that was really famous in India at that time. So trying to apply to them. I'd also got an audition for I didn't know at the time, but it was a particular acting gig and not like a content creator in their company in general. I had gone but not got anything through. So I was trying a lot of places. I had also, where I had done my internship, they had sort of hired me to create content for them. So for a few months, I created content for them as well. But my deadline was nearing, and I was somewhere or the other, I was like, listen, if nothing happens in this whole, when my deadline passes also, maybe I'll just go back to architecture, because I tried. Not like I didn't. So what happened was, so there's this whole story. There's this weird, I had a vision board on my cupboard. I have a different one on my door right now, but I had a vision board on my cupboard. And on that vision board, there were a lot of things. On that vision board, one of the strangest things there was motorcycles, because I don't like motorcycles. I don't know how to ride motorcycles. I was shit scared of riding motorcycles. There was the traumatic experience in my childhood. So, I know motorcycles were up there. Almost towards the end of that year, so I was following this content creator, and he had recently left this company. So I randomly messaged him on Instagram and just said, would you be looking for work in whatever company? Do let me know as well. I want to work as a content creator, so and so. Until then, I had already gotten a lot of content out on my YouTube and Instagram page. So he said, send me your stuff. I sent my Instagram page to him, and he said, I might have something for you. Like, give me a day. And legit, after a day, he called me. So I gave him my number. He called me up and he said, I have this friend who wants to hire a content creator, and this is happening like 20 days before that deadline would end. So he's like, I have a friend who wants to hire a content creator, and just talk to him, see if you would like to. And so the friend was actually the owner of Trip Machine Company, and Trip Machine Company makes motorcycle accessories and accessories for riders. It's basically around the motorcycle lifestyle, and so they wanted just a content creator who could create content for them. I told my boss on the interview that I know nothing about motorcycles. He said, you don't need to, we'll teach you, you just create content. I was like, great. And I think so it just happened in like 2-3 days. All of that happened, and I got a proper job at the end of my 1 year as a proper content creator. I was moving to another city, everything was ready, everything was set up, and I had sort of moved to a whole new city, and I was doing Blessdark when I was doing my job as well. Sort of, it was the same thing, like having a full-time job and creating content, similar to what you're doing right now. But everything till that then was the same till the pandemic hit, where everything went haywire.
What I'm curious now is, you said you became a professional content creator, and I am a graduate in architecture, and I have now between internships and employment, I'm now, so to say, 4 years full-time plus, let's say 5 years experience in the world of architecture, and I am very into the process of making architecture in Germany, because it slightly differs if you move around the world. And since I decided I'm gonna be making a podcast, I started with a podcast just because it's a very simple thing. You just press record. You don't have to. You have very much like open source softwares that can do a little bit of editing. I don't put, as I said, I like to make it more like pure conversation like we're doing now. Like I would just record it, cut if there is some disturb in the line, and then remove some background noises and upload it. But just to do this simple thing, it took so long to learn these simple operations, or to figure out what gear, what software, and so on and so on. And then you, as a content creator, your videos are like awesome. Like they look cool. Like I know that I see that you know how to work with the content. But this, when it moves to video, it involves so much more. It's like, I think it's comparable to actually building a building, because you have to record, and which means film it with a certain kind of camera.
I think one major difference is here you're doing it by yourself, there you have people, which both of them have
but
different
I'm saying like as a structure, like people see a video on YouTube from a YouTuber and they think, oh, this is so stupid, but you have to know how to film it, with what to film it, with what lens, with what lighting, with what microphone. Then you have recorded it, you have to put it into a software, you have to know how to edit it in that software, you have to know how to export it, you have to know how to upload it on YouTube, which hashtags to use and shit like that. And I'm curious, how did you learn? What are the skills that you, and you said you also scripted because you do scripted content. And for me, scripting, it's something like a mysterious art, because do you write every single thing that you have to do in the video? And do you write also, I don't know, the angles? This is curiosity for me. Where is there spots in your creation where you leave it to just creativity, or everything pre-scripted? And in this year and in this experience as a content creator, what would you define for you as the really defining skills that you have to learn in order to do good content?
So as for the learning of the softwares part, I think it was all about, as and when I needed things, I just learned them. There's no other way of doing it. Like there is no people nowadays are like do courses for social media, do different stuff. I don't know what is taught in them, but in my experience, the best way to sort of learn is to jump into it, and you learn along the way. So that is how I picked up on YouTube. That is how I picked up things on Instagram. That is how, it was like, I want to do this random thing in my video. How do I do it? So let's look up how do I do it. Do I need different softwares for this? So that's sort of how I picked up things. There was another question you asked. I remember the third
the
part
other
of
question is, how do you script, for example, your content? Like, is it everything
the scripting
defined, or you leave also like you've made an outline and then you leave some points in between to just creativity?
So everything that I do, which is a proper scripted video, like things that I do on Instagram or when I'm making documentaries or everything that is scripted, I usually write everything down, and so everything is properly written. What I have to say, where I have to pause, the jokes that I would do. So that is all sort of written down. I used to earlier write angles and everything because I used to do a lot of comic sketches. So I used to sort of write everything down, which I don't, even if I'm doing comic sketches in my other things, I don't need to do anymore because you sort of remember. Because I also don't need to explain it to somebody else. I am doing everything. I remember what I need to do. So as far as the script of it goes, what I have to say, everything is written down always. For Instagram, for those documentary parts. When I'm doing conversations, is when I only write down the questions and nothing else. And I actually try and like frame the questions nicely. So sometimes I just go with the flow and naturally just ask the question. Sometimes I have like, after the answer is over, I legit open up my Word document and like properly read out the question for them. And since I'm looking at the screen, nobody comes to know that I'm actually looking at the question now.
And do you use like teleprompter or something like that when you talk solo? Like something like there. I know that you have this app.
No.
Okay.
I remember. I learn it line by line. So this is also because I am editing. I know how I will edit it. So I know how much line I need to remember in one go. And in my scripts, there's usually also this thing. I highlight everything that I can say to the camera without looking at the camera. Because I know while editing, I'll put a B-roll in. So all of that, since I edited myself, all of that comes into play, and I just, but I'm sort of used to doing it now. I memorize chunks of it and I just say it all together. And as far as, being a content creator and what skills you require, I think one is genuinely you need a great, it's your ideas that would sort of, if nothing else, I think your ideas would drive you. So, using your ideas is whatever you want to do. Nowadays, you can create content as anything, especially with the advent of TikTok and Reels. You don't even need this. You don't need a mic. You don't need like proper lighting, something on your face. You don't need all of that. People are creating content and different kinds. There's like funny things. There are informative things. There are financial advices on TikTok and Reels on Instagram, which I genuinely watch and like, listen, should I be investing? So there are,
and then there is a chick dancing afterwards.
Yeah. True. So there are literally different kind of things happening, and it is your idea which is the main. But I think genuinely what has also been helping me along the way is I've realized I'm just becoming a better editor with every video that I make. At least I try to. So I'm able to take what I'm making to higher and higher levels because I'm able to edit it better and better and better. So I think that is one skill personally that has really helped me a lot, is just exploring and finding new ways of presenting it to the audience. Obviously the idea is important, and I genuinely look for interesting things. People keep telling me like, why don't you interview this person? Why don't you interview this person? And I just keep thinking, see, at the end of the day, what we talk about or who that person is needs to be interesting. If it doesn't interest me, I know that person, can talk about generic things, a lot of things, but it needs to have that something that people will also want to watch. It is also about understanding that viewers will not watch randomly if you creating things about random things. Something specific, some hook, give it to them so that they come and watch your videos. So that's why I also look for something interesting, and the ideas part is what is important. I think across all types of content, whatever you're creating, podcast, videos, reels, TikTok dances, just having that main idea and taking that idea forward, it just takes you forward. And obviously as you go ahead, you learn more things, you upgrade. People who started with their phones on TikTok just doing SSA dancing now have a proper, there's this guy in India, he has his own studio that people rent out so that they can shoot in. He's a proper full-time choreographer, and he started from TikTok. He made like random dancing videos, and today his professional setup is like another grade altogether.
I don't know this guy, but I know one guy on TikTok from India who is a little chubby, and they're usually a group of 2-3 people and do these fucking funny sketches where, like, I don't know, they put on him faith.
I think you're talking about Ashish Chansman.
Probably. This guy, it's awesome. He makes you cry down to laughs because he does parodies of serious TikTokers with his chubby belly. Awesome.
Yeah, so I mean, it's the idea that you start with, and obviously you along the way, if you gain viewership, if people like your ideas, how you're presenting it to them, you sort of upgrade, you sort of gain more viewers, you also monetize your audience. So all of that happens all together, but it starts off with that idea of what you want to do.
Yeah. I agree with you. And I'm wondering also, I wanted to ask you, do you think that your way of doing content is sort of also based a little bit on your cultural background? Because I don't know a lot about like Indian culture like deeply, but I know, like, I've seen through YouTube online, you can see some of the Bollywood stars, the movies that you do, and there are a lot of these funny reels also of this, I don't know, it's some action movie from India where this guy steps off of a off-road jeep while the jeep it's like exploding and shit like that, and he's just all jacked and stuff.
Yeah, random things happen.
And I think, and when I see your channel, I was like, oh, this is so cool, because it's like taken something and put through the perspective of the Indian background. Do you think it's like, this is how I a little bit perceive it? But again, in a very like positive way, I think it's okay. This is fun to see. Do you think there is something, or you didn't? You don't think it's true?
I mean, I think unconsciously or subconsciously it's true. Is just things that we've seen up growing. Yeah. So I mean,
as I said, you guys are like super positive. Like in a lot of the content that I've heard from Indian content creators or from movies and stuff like that, or interviews. Or I have a lot of colleagues that I meet in the offices where I work, and they're from India, and mostly I speak with them in Indian or in English or in German, but they always like sound so positive. Like when you meet them in the kitchen to grab a coffee, they're like, "How are you doing? I'm super, I'm great. How are you?" Like, and like I get happier. And when I see your channel, it's like, oh, that's vibe, because we European are more like, that must have been very hard and very difficult, and you must probably suffered. And you guys are.
Yeah, I think in that sense. So obviously it's not a complete happy country outside, and everybody like choppy and it's not that. But I think in general we Indians are just more open and talkative in that sense, because I think that is true. In the sense that obviously it differs from person to person, a person how they are, a European person as well, but generally I think we're much more open, we're louder as well. So there is all of that comes into play, and yeah, I think generally day to day also is just everybody keeps having a little bit of fun with each other, keeps pulling their leg, and I think that is sort of what goes down in my videos as well. It's just having a fun.
So you did a content creator for motorcycles, and I guess you learned a little bit about motorcycles while doing that job. But I'm also curious, like as we said, content creation is time consuming. In your channel, what did you bet on? Quantity or quality? Because we know it's important for Instagram, TikTok, YouTube that you post a lot of content regularly, but we also know that if you have to post, I don't know, every day a video, physically it will be very hard, because how you gonna get great content out? So what is your strategy? More quality, or more quantity and then sometimes less quality?
So it depends on platform to platform. So on YouTube, my main channel, I just earlier I'd also tried quantity, but I just realized it's just too quality and put like one video out a week and not more frequently than that, because I was ready. I was like, I'll put 3 out, and then they were getting so little views. I was like, listen, we need to space things out a little bit now. So so on YouTube I try and make like one video a week, and obviously so the kind of videos I do also differ. Some week I'm just putting, like, I still have to do the architecture of Asgard or some other Marvel film, which I've been putting off for a long time because I have to research and script it out. So I'm just putting interviews instead of that, so because they're much easier to like just chop down. Everything is done, you just have to chop down, put it out, and put it up. So it takes like half a day. So so there's that of YouTube. Then there's YouTube. I just recently started Blessed Dark Daily, just to sort of I want to try that quantity approach on YouTube as well. So on Blessed Dark Daily I put like 4 videos up a day, and they are a mixture of, so they're all mixtures of all that. There's nothing new on Blessed Dark Daily. It's just either bits and pieces of the conversation that I've done, bits and pieces of the videos, or they're reels. They are so random things. If somebody else wants to send me something that they want me to post and I really like it, so I post that as well. So Blessed Dark Daily is just more quantity. Instagram, I've realized, obviously you need to post daily for constant engagement. The more you keep posting, it is better. But obviously you also have to post good things. So on Instagram, my my sort of strategy is to stick to that quantity of, I had in between done like 4 posts a day, but now I've come back to 2. So of doing 2 posts a day, for me it's also easier because one of those posts would just be a aesthetic picture. Because my Instagram feed is made in such a way, it's just one post of how I designed it, one picture, one post of how I designed it, one picture. So in that 2 posts a day, the second one is basically just a beautiful picture or a rendering or something like that. The other one is what I have to create, so that oscillates between the reels that I create, like the Did You Knows, or random reels of me doing fun stuff that people would just laugh to, or something informative, or a random carousel where something informative is on it. So on Instagram, my strategy is basically to stick to that number, like daily number, and the quality it increases gradually. So I try and maintain it. I try and create quality content out there. But again, as I said, with the advent of reels, it was like, so generally I would not just open up my phone in any lighting, just record anything and put it up. But with the advent of reels in India, I am doing that, just putting music to it and sort of doing, it's again funny stuff. Not the lighting is not great, the background not great, my phone camera quality is not great. Like this is a DSLR that I'm shooting with, but generally those reels I create with the phone. So I think that has given me a lot of leeway to just sort of record something quickly and put it up. So in that, I think Instagram, my strategy leans more towards quantity and just getting that number in. And obviously quality I keep, as it goes forward, I keep raising. So like even if you go to my first reel and now the reels that I put up, obviously the quality has also increased. But I think the strategy is of hitting that number daily.
And you've been doing like incredible numbers. Like you have tens of thousands of subscribers, maybe hundreds of thousands among all platforms. And on YouTube, you have 2 million views, which if you think it's huge. Was there a pivoting moment in your content creation that you become viral, that you, because it's hard to get these numbers. Like I'm way far away from those numbers, and so far I've seen that there is no like a linear growth. It's more like you grow a little bit, then you stay on this step, then you grow a little bit, then you stay. And I don't know if in your case, because I'm in the matter of hundreds. So if you had to get to 10,000s or millions, like in your case, is there like a viral moment where everybody start resharing your thing somehow and then you get big, or how did it happen?
So on YouTube, I was obviously creating a lot of content. It was Mariana's video which was like a big turning point, because when I had recorded my video with Mariana, 2019 February, I had 13,000 subscribers. And so in that year also I started creating a lot of content for the entrance exams of India. So a lot of people started following me since then. And Mariana's video was the very first video that started going viral. Like 10 days, 100k views. I'm like, what is happening? And even she was shocked. Like, what is happening? So I think that was a huge turning point. A lot of people started following both of us through that interview. And that was a huge, and that is why, all videos I've done with Mariana sort of do great. Like she has an amazing personality, and she's just, I think any video I do with her does great in general itself. So that was one of the viral moments, I would say. But I think it is, sometimes you also don't understand why. There are some of my old videos that suddenly just start getting a lot of views. You don't understand why that is happening. It just starts picking up more and more and more. So there were viral moments here and there in between. When I put up the Mariana video, when I put Dinara Casco's video this year, so she's a chef, and she was an architect who turned into a baker, and she creates these she 3D prints her molds and creates these beautiful cakes. Her video, I think, is the most watched video on my channel right now.
We need to get her on this podcast too, because I saw that video and was cool.
Yeah. She's also amazing to talk to. So that video again went viral. So there are these moments, bits and pieces that sort of push you further and further up. But I think more and more along the way, it is the fact that you putting up content consistently, and you're maintaining your quality as you're putting up content or increasing it. So that sort of those are very smaller steps that you keep building, and then there's a viral moment that takes you to another level, and then you're again building smaller steps. So there are these things that keep happening. But I think in terms of viral moment, I think Mariana was the first time I felt like, whoa, I'm reaching a lot of people.
Yeah, I think also like from my personal experience, I don't know, you can share if it's different in your case. I always think I'm a little bit of a, I would try to be super perfect, and before I start something, so I would be like, I have to start YouTube, I have to know how to film, I have to get cameras, I have to start editing and stuff like that. And I wait so long until I say like, okay, it's not gonna happen like this, like overnight. So I'm gonna start. So for example, now I started putting the podcast, the old episodes which I don't have in video form, as an audiogram. So I just put a picture in the audio, and then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try to do a very simple video first, and then I'm gonna try a second a little bit better. And like with the audio podcast, like I would do it just with my phone in the beginning, and then okay, I have to step up and buy a microphone and so on and so on. So I think in content creation, it's accepting that in the beginning is gonna be not so good. Like it's gonna be.
Yeah, I mean, you cannot start at 100. You cannot go to the gym when you're thinking you already have big muscles. You're going to the gym for the muscles. So you start off with whatever you can start off with, and slowly, steadily, as you're going ahead, you sort of also realize, this is not working, this is working. So you maneuver through the ways, you find out better ways, you talk to people, you find out more ways about things, and I think that is how anything grows. You cannot build a building from the top. There is one building that was actually built from the top in Spain, but still for that building also they put the foundation and took the columns up and then started building from the top. So like the foundations are important.
Yes, but I think that you can build them up by just starting doing. I have to do not only dry so to say notions and dry exercise. I have to do some practical stuff. So if I have to make some side video just for the matter of learning how to edit, I would do no. I want to do this video, and I'll start working on that video, and along the way I will learn. Like for the matter of fact, also architecture. This is when I watch these tutorials about how to model something in 3D. I never modeled their building that they were modeling the tutorial. I'll be like, okay, I would model my building with their steps.
Exactly. Yeah, that is how I think that is the best way to learn anything you want to, is what you want to. Like, I want in my video this specific thing to fly off from here and do this. I have no idea how to do this. I look at tutorials of how to do this. They're explaining some random shit, but with what they're explaining, I can also do what I want. So I'll just pick up what I want and do that. Because that is how you learn, and that is how you remember to learn as well. So when people used to, in second year, we had AutoCAD classes in our college. And a lot of those classes were spent on the blackboard, and they were telling us commands, this does this does this, and people are writing them down. And I think I did write them down, but I have never learned anything that way. Like, I will not use these 1,000 commands that you've given me ever. Show me where I would need them. And that is why a lot of time in AutoCAD, I just kept learning newer things because I never needed them. And when I went to the office as well, everybody was using a lot of things. So everything they were using there, I needed them now. So then I learned how to do all of that. Like, I remember when one of the superiors in the office was handing out works to all the interns together. And she said this. And all the other interns knew how to do that. And I was like, sorry, could you tell me how to do that? She explained it to me. They were pretty, upfront that way. Like, if you don't know, don't do it wrong. Tell me you don't know and I will tell you how to do it. Like, don't waste people's time here. So, it's about when you need something, you learn how to do it. And that is the best way to learn, because you will remember it. Otherwise, you can sit in classes and go through all tutorials of everything. And maybe you will start only after you finish all of those tutorials, because everything has something new to learn. Till what point will you be like, now I'm confident enough to do it on my own. So it is just what you need, you pick up and you sort of take it from there.
Yeah, I believe so too. And then there is this, there are some magic moments where you press some shortcut on the keyboard and it does something and you're like, what the fuck did I press? I don't know what happened. And then you start to figure out where your fingers were, and then like, oh, I press Control F. This is what it does.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And another thing that I'm really, really impressed from you, and want to ask you how you managed to do this, is, as we said, content creation can be very time consuming and itself requires a lot of skills. And beside all of that, you seem to be very good in architecture as well, like in design and using, as you said, you use also parametric softwares and Grasshopper and Rhino and things like that. How do you manage to not be working as an architect, but to be so much on the point with this stuff? Because, I mean, they're two very, they're two, for example, I work full time as an architect, and it's not like you don't get to do every day whatever you would love to do as an architect, because it's sometimes, a lot of, you have to make stuff happen, where it aren't that creative thing that you have at university. And on the other side, when I finish work, I have to deal with the podcast in the matter of finding guests, thinking about what kind of Instagram post I could do, thinking about learning about how to use OBS or some other software. And this is taking me away from maybe I would have a night where I would love to play around with Rhino and Grasshopper, but I can't because I don't have the physical time. How do you do that? How do you balance this thing?
So, I mean, I don't use those softwares as much anymore. So Rhino and Grasshopper mainly I started learning in my 4th year. I had gotten a new roommate in college, and he used to constantly work on Rhino and Grasshopper. So I sort of learned it from him. That was the year before that I did not do any 3D modeling as such in computer, and since then is when one thing I've realized is I am faster at learning softwares, especially if there's something out there. I'll find tutorials and I'll learn it, like if I really need to do something. And I think that is how I still do a lot of video editing as well, is just figuring out how to do it. The only time it might have overlapped is when I was doing my internship, is when I was upgrading to Premiere Pro and sort of editing on that, while at the time also doing the softwares at the office though. But I think there was never really a time where, especially in the software part, where both of them like properly overlapped or collided. It was after college. I think mostly I've just used my editing software as such. I have obviously lost a bit of touch through those software, and recently I was making a video in Grasshopper, and it took me around another 2 hours to sort of relearn myself what I was doing. But once I got the hang of it again, I was just going again with Grasshopper, just creating that script on and on and on. But I think they never properly overlapped in that sense.
And another topic that I wanna cover with you, it's when I'm thinking about it, and because also I can relate to this, is we were talking about all these platforms, all this social media, and also to be clear, like when I ask you about the growth of audiences, not because I don't know how you deal with it, but for me I don't do it because I want to get famous, or my goal is not the number. My goal is to have the audience that can actually spread the message, which is important for me. And I always try to have people that are slightly more famous already or more successful, so that maybe they help growing this audience, and then I will have some person that I know it's a great creative, a great artist, a great designer, and through my audience they can get a little boost to get a little bit of more to get this platform. But on the other side, these platforms are very addictive. They have all these algorithms, and our brain as a human being, it's wired to always check social, to check. We are always curious. That's why we're curious about gossiping about you. You're curious to relate with other human beings.
Sure.
And how do you manage or to not to do this content, which is great, but on the other side to not get addicted to, I don't know, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, or because in that case you might be only constantly checking that stuff without doing concentrated productive work?
I think in a lot of sense I am. I would spend an hour just sitting and looking at reels. Though I'm also looking at things like I can make this for Blessed Dark, or I can recreate this on that Blessed Human. I'm also looking at it from that aspect. But I think a lot of time I just also spend on the social media platforms, just not just creating but also consuming content. So there is obviously that aspect that comes into the picture. But I think for me, I purposefully then try and pull out myself and create the content, because obviously social media is like a thing that you need to keep feeding for it to grow. And if you stop feeding it, it'll also start recessing. It's not like it'll stay. It'll start going down. So it needs its proper nutrition day in and day out. So even though you sort of I just sort of sometimes sit down and looking at reels, but I know I need to go back to my drawing board and start working there, because I need to put this piece of content out as well. And that is why I think there are these, that the thing I told you at the start, like these videos that I get really excited about. So when I'm doing something I'm excited about, it might be a random reel, it might be a proper YouTube video, like the next YouTube video that I'm creating with these 8 creators together, all of us together, and it's like a nice secret project that's coming up. So I'm editing that right now, and I'm super excited about how I'm doing it. So when that is happening, all of the other content are just checklists. They don't matter as much to me. So doing them is not really a pain, because doing them gets me to this, so that I can quickly get done with that and come back to this.
But when you work on these videos and on this project, do you really need to sometimes just pull aside your phone, so that, because sometimes it becomes
it's right here always.
Unaware, sometimes your fingers goes unawarely to Instagram or TikTok or whatever, and it just starts scrolling.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, let me see this reel, and then there is the next one, and they come up without even you needing to scroll or do anything. That's crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously there are those traps that happen, and if I sit down, I think but within 15 minutes I'll realize that maybe now I need to go back to work, because I can't just keep doing one thing. If I'm also watching a movie, I don't remember a last thing that I watched where I wasn't doing something else simultaneously, either being on my phone or writing something or eating. Just doing one single task. And that is why I do a lot of yoga and meditation nowadays, to sort of sit and focus on one single task and do nothing else. But I think I never do so that is why also when I'm looking at reels, I just get, after 15 minutes I'll be like, listen, I'm just sitting and looking at my phone, I need to be doing something else as well. So I come back to my computer and I start working. Also when I'm working, there's always constantly something that's played in the background. Even if there are TV shows or movies, so all of my friends in college used to say, I don't watch stuff, I listen to it. So they used to ask me hey, did you listen to that new movie? Because it just keeps playing.
No, I cannot listen to movies.
Playing in the background.
I cannot listen to movies.
It's only during certain scenes when I open up the movie and see what's happening. Otherwise, it's just like a long podcast episode happening in my ear.
Oh my god! There is something very dramatic.
Sometimes there are action sequences happening, while I'm listening to, and I'm not opening. Let them fight. They're fighting only. That is what is happening.
Let them fight. They're gonna solve it.
Yeah. Ultimately, whoever speaks at last, I know with their voices was one.
Oh my god. No, it's so funny, because it's I'll let them fight. It's so funny when I go to my grandma, because my grandma, she's 84, 85. And so the only media she consumes, it's soap operas on TV. And she's so involved into this. She's the opposite. She's getting mad at the different characters. This idiot. This is...
My grandma was the same.
And in Bulgaria, I'm originally from Bulgaria. In Bulgaria, we have a lot of Indian soap operas. So she's really involved.
They're a full... The camera is coming onto the face.
Yes.
Stuff happening.
And my grandma says,
It's full over dramatic.
And she's like, I love the colors and I love their outfits, but she gets so like attached to the different characters. She gets really like seriously mad sometimes. She's like, this motherfucker, how he can do that?
But they make it in sometimes. So my mom is watching them, and so nowadays who watches TV? Like it's all either on the phone or the laptop, something like that. So, but I mean, obviously the older generation still watches things on TV. Sometimes her program is on, and randomly I'll just sit next to her and just watch a little bit, and it is really nothing, random shit happening in that soap opera, but it engrosses you somehow. You just sit and you're like listening to what is happening. Sometimes you're commenting on what shit is it, but you're still sitting there and watching it.
Yeah, like it's crazy.
They make it very engaging.
And but nowadays TV for younger generations is completely dead because you have all these platforms where
like who
where
watches
you can
it?
decide what to watch. Why should I wait for my movie to come?
Exactly.
I remember when I was teenager, there were no this platform. There was YouTube, but the first YouTube was just some random videos, wasn't really like content creation the thing. And you would wait for, like, I would watch a TV show and you watch one episode a night and you have to wait for next evening to see what is going to happen. And then, of course, they make it in a way that you solve the mystery of last episode and you finish with a new mystery and you're like, damn, I have to watch it again. And it's, and I think younger generation have never experienced that because also Netflix releases most of the shows like in a season. So you watch the whole season, you can binge watch.
You also get, but I think one downside of this is I get fatigued by looking at so many choices, and that is why I prefer like TV shows to movies, like, and long TV show like 10 seasons in. So I'll just start playing and it'll take me like 1 day, 2 days to sort of completely get in tune with the characters, and then it'll keep going on for days. That one particular, so I don't have to choose like what will I watch next, because it's a pain to then look at, okay, I'm done with this, what new should I watch now?
When we do a movie night here, I'm with my girlfriend and we like I have a VPN. So we're like, okay, let's check what is on Netflix USA, what is on Netflix Japan, what is on Netflix, and then we take at least, I don't know, sometimes it takes 2 hours to pick a movie because we are like, and I don't know, but Netflix has the most stupid algorithm. Like if they were like, if they were working on hook you on this Netflix, they're stupid. No matter in which category do you go, they show you the same movies.
Yeah, whatever they recommend, I never want to watch what they're showing me next.
We should tell them like Netflix, copy YouTube or something.
Do better, yeah. Yeah, like YouTube, they'll still show you things that you would want to watch.
And sometimes it's crazy. They show you some stuff that I didn't know I want to watch this, but I want to watch this. So yeah, it's crazy. And how does your working day looks like? Like how many hours are you into actively working every day? Are you doing some crazy hours, or you put yourself like a limit so that you have a balanced lifestyle?
Earlier I used to do like crazy hours earlier. Nowadays I think I start off my work at like maybe 10 in the morning or 12, and then I go on till 9 or 10.
Yeah, so you do a classic 8 hours working. And what was your, when you decided to try this career as a content creator, YouTuber, what was your business model in your head? Like, what was your, like, okay, you said you wanted to, of course, earn money to sustain yourself through this activity. Did you have an idea how you're gonna make this money? Was your goal today to take the money from YouTube by the monetization of the videos, or what was the idea?
So that was the initial thought, that earning money through monetization. And I think whatever goals I've set for earning money through whatever channels, they never really pan out the way you think they would. So you also sort of keep looking for new ways. I'll also start doing workshops now. So that's an additional income as well. But you know what? Especially with YouTube, a lot of people don't realize this, is that sometimes there are various factors on which your revenue depends, and a huge factor of that revenues depending is also the fact that where people are watching your content from. If I've made content that people in the US are watching a lot, I will earn a lot more money than if somebody is in India watching. And that's why a lot of people ask me, why don't I interview a lot of Indian architects? The reason is I want a global audience, because that also gets you higher monetization. Monetization rates in other countries are much higher compared to what it is in India. Like US and India, there's a 10 times difference. So like that is the amount of, if 1,000, if you can earn a certain amount, in the US you can earn 10 times that. So that is also what sort of drives sometimes, the content choices that I want to make. But, so the revenue streams originally I thought I'd keep earning a lot from YouTube AdSense. But since then I've sort of had to change gears, put in different things. I've started Patreon. Again, Patreon also, I thought it'll do amazingly, but it's also going really, really slow. Progressing, but at a much lower rate than I had imagined. Then there's also always the monetization option of once you have a large enough audience, people come to you to advertise things as well. So there is that, and I think a lot more money and a bigger chunk of money comes faster through that. Again, I'll be starting with courses also now. So, the monetization policies keep changing. How I earn my revenue keeps changing, because you have to genuinely think about it. Unless you do big numbers consistently, and especially if people are from India, either you do crazy numbers in India, then you learn nicely from YouTube. Otherwise, if you're making content that appeals to a larger audience in general from other countries as well, and you're consistently doing good, decent numbers, you can keep earning decently from YouTube. But it is a lot more difficult. It's not as... it's just like all businesses. Like when you are a salaried employee, you get like a paycheck every month. But your bosses might not be making the exact same amount of money every month. Their money keeps changing from month to month, how they're earning. Sometimes they're earning more, sometimes they're earning less, and yet they're paying their employees, because you can't just let them go. So it's the same with every business, and just like creating content, when you do it full time, it becomes a business for you. So you figure out different sources of revenue for yourself, and it varies from month to month.
And I want to ask you, where does your audience mainly come from so far?
It's still India. Like, yeah. I think in my demographic, I think last I checked, it was between 55 to 61% of it is India, both on Instagram and YouTube.
That's because you have a lot of people there, guys. Like, but I think you're also very supportive.
Yeah,
very supportive.
Yeah, true. A lot of people message me and saying they love my content especially from India, and they sort of look up to me and try but that is one thing I sort of, in every interview that I give, everything I try to tell people as well. These facts that, a lot of people get inspired by me and want to get into content creation as well, and I'm like, that is great, but also don't expect like overnight subscribers. Overnight you'll get a lot of money, because even earning money in this field is a task, like creating content as well, just like any other business, just like you would be an architect and figure out, maneuver your way through. I think here as well you figure out, you maneuver your way through. But I think people, mostly it's all been really, really positive from my audience.
Yeah, I think so too, because when I started doing this podcast, I thought, okay, I'm gonna give myself a long-term project, a long-term deadline. I'm gonna wait 3, 4, 5 years where I do it consistently, and it's funny because
that's a much better way to do it.
Because you don't have like the pressure of, oh my god, when I'm gonna be super popular and things like that. And again, this is, for me also, it's important to to build an audience for the people who are on the podcast, to popularize, to do like you. I think you're doing a great job because you do like you're making design and architecture cool again. It's not like something really boring and annoying. And I'm curious to know what kind of gear you use, what kind of technology you use, what kind of camera, because everything looks so sleek. What kind of microphone and stuff like that. I always like to.
I upgraded. Yes, I upgraded things in this year. Actually, I upgraded all of this. So earlier I just used to record. I had my DSLR that was it was gifted to my brother from my sister-in-law. Long time, 2013. Like during when they were getting married is when she had gifted him a DSLR. He didn't use it much, so I took it. And I used to create videos from that. So my audio was also from that DSLR. And that is why earlier audio quality was also really bad. Then I sort of joined Trip Machine. And there obviously we still use my camera even at Trip Machine we use my camera. For my videos I use my camera. But they had amazing mics, so I started using that mic. So that is when my audio quality initially started going up. This year now I have got a Sony Alpha, which one is it?
6,000 something.
This is 6600.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there was this YouTube seminar, a seminar for YouTubers from Sony. And at the end of that seminar, they gave like us a bit of discount on their selected products. I actually wanted to go for 6400. That model wasn't available in India at that point, so I was like, listen, give me the 6600. So my camera right now is Sony Alpha 6600. My mic that I use now is the Blue Yeti. Again, I got it this year. That is what I use. And so for the light, I have like 2 ring lights, and both of them I've done DIY things too. So this normal ring light, I've put like a chart paper around it, so that it becomes more spotlighty and less spreading out. So this is the first light that is on my face. The second, the reddish thing that you see in my background is also a ring light that I've just put red cellophane paper over.
And you have a really cool neon light behind you. Yeah,
this just I got it installed like last week. My sister gave it to me actually as a birthday gift. I wanted to do this and I would have taken much more time to make it myself, but my sister got it made much faster. She gave it to me as a birthday gift, and put it up since then.
Yeah, I think this is like the proof that if you have managed to grow so far without some crazy gear, it's a proof that you don't really need amazing gear. You really need consistency and doing the job.
Yeah, I mean your gear would improve your visual quality and your audio quality, all of that, which is important. But if you have nothing interesting to look at or to say, what would you show with that amazing gear or amazing microphone? If I had all of this at the start, I don't know if it wasn't mainly about the content that I was creating, what I was creating. People don't come to the channel to watch me. People don't come to the channel because there's like a nice red background behind me or the audio quality is nice. People come to the channel because I'm generally talking about things that they want to listen to, or I have guests who they want to listen to and know their journey. So people come generally for that conversation, for that content, not just for its quality. The quality is like a bonus. It's like you've made delicious food, now you're presenting it well. But even if it's presented well, if it's not good food, you would not go to that restaurant again.
That's true. I agree with you. And I think it's a it was very interesting and very inspirational talking to you. I had a lot of fun. I hope you had a lot of fun too, being on our podcast. We're not as big as your channel, but we're getting there steadily and consistently. And what I try to do in the end of every episode is to create sort of a tank or a collector of inspiration. And I always ask my guests in the end if they can share with the audience what do you do when you're a little bit when you need inspiration. Do you have a favorite book, a favorite movie, favorite song, a favorite place, a favorite sport, something that, what do you do? What is your favorite thing to do when you need to get a little bit re-inspired again?
So there wasn't like a favorite thing that I go back to. I sometimes just eat. But earlier in my school, I used to weigh 100 kgs. Now I've come down to like 60, 65, 67. So eating was like always a coping mechanism for me. So if I'm sort of uninspired, I just eat. But nowadays I just realize it all works much better if I go the opposite direction and fast. So if I'm feeling really low, or if I am out of ideas, or something is not going great, so just doing that fast that particular day, combined with all the yoga meditation practice that I do, but just doing that fast, and that obviously that particular day you will be feeling a bit of loss of energy and all of that. But I don't know if a lot of people have fasted, but once you fasted for a little while, for a few hours, you last ate at yesterday evening, and today evening, when it turns evening, you suddenly start being much more energetic. There's an upsurge of positive emotions within you that just naturally happens within your body. So next day you're a little bit more fresh to look at your problem again and come at it from a different perspective. Ideas come along the way. So yeah, I think that is something that I do nowadays, but there's no specific book or movie that I go back to. If I have to go back to something, it's just food. I'll just
you're the first guest that says that, and I never thought about favorite food to get inspired. Well,
I don't think it's to get inspired. Just eating and being like, shit, I have no inspiration, and then I keep eating. Either something strikes, or like within a few days, if nothing else, I'll do that fast. And like I'll put like a reset button, and then things start working again.
Well, thank you very much for the very inspirational chat, Rishabh. And last but not least, you can shout out where people can find more about you online.
So if you want to find my content, you can find me. So it's Blessdark on YouTube and Instagram mainly, but you can also find me on Facebook, LinkedIn. Not that I create newer content for all the platforms. Basically, it's Instagram and YouTube. But it'll really be great if you could follow me on Facebook and LinkedIn as well. And yeah,
I'll put all the links in the description of this podcast, or in the description of this video if I manage to make it happen. Well, so thank you very much, and I wish you a great day.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Just like that.
Hey friends, thank you very much for listening to this podcast. You've been amazing. Before we go, I just want to remind you that if you want to support us, you can just go on the creativeinsider.com, where you can subscribe to our monthly newsletter, or you can follow us on our social media channels, which are Instagram at TCI Podcast, or the LinkedIn page, The Creative Insider. By doing this, you will have a bigger social media presence, which always looks attractive to more and more important guests. And so this is very fundamental. And if you really love what we do and you want to help us doing a better production, just click on the Patreon link below, where you can support us with the wished amount of money you think it's okay for you. It's a monthly subscription, but you can cancel anytime. So thank you very much, and have a good week, guys. Bye bye.
But the whole world stops just like that.